The moment I watched my wife kneel beside our lawyer and beg him to stop reading the forensic accountant's report, I knew 3 things. First, the man she'd called her mentor for 11 years had been sleeping in my bed every Tuesday and Thursday since before our wedding. Second, our twin daughters had his eyes, not mine. And third, the empire I'd built for her was about to become the knife I held to her throat. She thought she was going to cry her way out of this. She had no idea I'd already moved every dollar. My name is Daniel Crawford. I'm 47, and until 6 weeks ago I thought I had the kind of life men envied. I run a structural engineering firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. 42 employees, government contracts, the works. My wife Laura and I met at a charity auction when I was 34. She was an interior designer with her own boutique studio, 3 years younger than me, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and quietly rearrange the oxygen in it. We married after 18 months. 2 years later came the twins, Hannah and Madison, now 8 years old. We bought a house in Myers Park with a stone fireplace and a magnolia tree in the back. Laura stopped working full-time after the girls were born. She painted, volunteered at the girls' school, kept a garden. I worked long hours but came home every night. We had family dinners. We had traditions. Pancakes on Sunday, pizza on Friday. I used to tell my mother I'd hit the lottery the day Laura said yes. I had no idea I was the one being played. It started with a receipt. I was cleaning out the center console of Laura's Lexus. She'd asked me to swap the snow tires. And a crumpled slip fell out from under the floor mat. A steakhouse in Asheville. 2 entrees. 2 glasses of wine. Dated a Thursday in February. Laura had told me she was in Asheville that weekend for a girls' trip with her college roommate Paige. I stared at the receipt for a long time. Then I put it back exactly where I'd found it. A week later, I noticed the second thing. Laura had always worn the same perfume, a jasmine one I'd bought her in Paris on our honeymoon. That Tuesday, she came home smelling like something sharper, citrus, expensive. Not hers. New perfume? I asked, kissing her cheek. Oh, Paige gave me a sample, she said without looking up from her phone. Thought I'd try it. I nodded. I smiled, but I watched her hands. Her thumb was rubbing the edge of her phone case the way it always did when she was lying to a client on a call. Third flag came 2 weeks after that. I came home on a Wednesday. I'd left work early with a migraine, and her car was in the driveway, but the house was empty. No note. Her phone went to voicemail. She walked in 90 minutes later with a grocery bag holding 1 lemon and a box of pasta. Sorry, honey. Lost track of time at Whole Foods. The Whole Foods was 8 minutes away. The 4th flag was subtle, and it's the one that broke me open. I went to kiss her goodnight, and she flinched. Not dramatically. Just a half-inch pullback, the kind you do when someone you don't know too well leans too close. She covered it fast. She smiled. But something in me went very quiet. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself every marriage has seasons. I told myself she was tired, stressed, premenopausal. I rotated through every excuse I could generate. Then I found the earring. It was gold. Not a style Laura wore. It was under the passenger seat of her car, wedged against the bracket. A single stud, no back. I held it up in the parking lot of my office for about 30 seconds. Then I drove to a private investigator's office in South End and paid him a retainer in cash. 11 days later, Gerald, the investigator, called me at the office. Mr. Crawford, we need to talk. Not on the phone. I met him in a diner off Independence Boulevard. He slid a manila envelope across the laminate table. I remember the smell of burnt coffee. I remember the waitress asking if I wanted a refill and my mouth being so dry I couldn't answer. Inside the envelope were 14 photographs. My wife, walking into a rental cabin in Lake Norman. My wife, walking out of that cabin the next morning with her hair wet. My wife, in the parking lot of a hotel in Greensboro, kissing a tall, silver-haired man I recognized from her old design firm's website. Richard Hollister, 61 years old. Founding partner of the firm where Laura had interned when she was 23. The man she described to me at our rehearsal dinner as the closest thing I ever had to a second father. Gerald slid another photograph across. It was a printout of a hotel registry. 22 separate stays over the last 16 months, all under Hollister's name. There's more, Gerald said. He's been paying the mortgage on a condo in South Park. Your wife has a key. Goes there on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 11 and 2. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. Something in my chest, I can only describe it as a door, quietly closed and locked from the inside. "I need one more thing from you," I said. My own voice sounded borrowed. "I need DNA tests. My daughter's." Discreetly. Gerald nodded like he'd been waiting for me to ask. I drove home that night, kissed Laura on the forehead, played Uno with the twins, and lay beside my wife for 6 hours without sleeping. And I planned. The next morning I called Douglas Reyes. Doug had been my corporate attorney for 15 years and had handled 3 divorces among my partners. I sat in his office and laid out everything I knew. Doug listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Daniel, before we do anything else, I want you to hear me on one thing. Do not confront her. Not yet. The moment she knows, she starts moving money. She starts coaching the children, and she walks into a lawyer's office ready for war. Right now you have something priceless. Surprise. Don't spend it." He laid out a plan. First, the DNA tests. I collected cheek swabs from Hannah and Madison over the next weekend. I told them it was a science experiment for Daddy, and they laughed and stuck out their tongues. I overnighted the kits to an accredited lab. Second, financial protection. My firm had a buy-sell agreement, and my prenup, Laura had signed it without protest, protected the business entirely. But my personal assets were exposed. Doug connected me with Margaret Chen, a forensic accountant who'd done expert witness work in 24 divorces. Over the next 3 weeks, we moved carefully. I executed a capital call my 3 partners and I had discussed for years, expanding into Raleigh. I converted nearly $800,000 in personal liquid assets into business equity. Legal, documented pre-existing plan on record. Third, evidence. Gerald kept watching. I installed a tiny GPS tracker on Laura's car. I did not read her texts. Doug was clear. "Anything you gather illegally we can't use, and it'll hurt us if it surfaces." At home, I was perfect. I brought her flowers on a Wednesday for no reason. I took the girls to the aquarium. I laughed at her jokes. I made love to her twice. I won't pretend that didn't cost me something, because I could not afford for her to sense the temperature change. She noticed once. We were sitting on the back porch, and she suddenly said, "You're quiet lately. Everything okay at the firm?" "Raleigh expansion," I said. "Doug and I are stressed about the loan structure." She took my hand. "You work too hard, baby." I smiled at her and thought, "You have no idea what hard looks like yet." The DNA results came back on a Thursday at 4:17 p.m. I was at my desk. I read the email 3 times. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Twins are full biological siblings to each other, not biologically related to the tested father. I closed my laptop. I walked to the bathroom attached to my office. I threw up until there was nothing left, and then I kept throwing up. Then I washed my face, straightened my tie, and called Doug. "File Monday," I said. "Do it all." Monday morning, 9:45 a.m. At exactly 10 o'clock, 3 things happened simultaneously. A process server walked into Hollister's office on the 42nd floor of the Duke Energy Building and handed him a civil complaint. Alienation of affection, fraud, and criminal conversation. North Carolina is one of 6 states that still allows those lawsuits. The damages sought were $3.2 million. A second process server walked into Hollister's firm's HR department with a copy of the complaint and photographic evidence of the affair. Hollister's firm had a strict fiduciary conduct clause in every partner agreement. And a third process server rang the doorbell of my own home and handed Laura divorce papers, citing adultery, marital fraud, and paternity fraud. My phone started ringing at 10:04. I let it go to voicemail 17 times. At 11:30, I walked into my house. Laura was sitting on the floor of our living room, the papers scattered around her, her phone in her hand. Her face was blotched red, her mascara running in black streams down her jaw. Daniel, oh my God, I don't understand. What is this? Who did this?" "Sit down, Laura." "I am sitting down." "Baby, please. There's been some kind of... I don't know who told you. I have 14 photographs of you entering a cabin in Lake Norman with Richard Hollister. I have a GPS log showing you parked at his condo in South Park 61 times in the last 8 months. I have DNA results showing that Hannah and Madison are not my biological children. I have hotel registries going back 16 months. Would you like me to continue?" Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. "I need to hear you say it," I said. "Just once." For me. Daniel, say it. It wasn't what you think. He was always... It started before you and I even... Before we what? She stopped, caught. Her face did a thing I'll never forget. A kind of collapsing recalculation, like a building deciding which way to fall. Before we were serious, she whispered. Are the twins his? She didn't answer. Laura, are the twins his? Daniel, please, they love you. You're their... Are they his? Yes. I nodded slowly. Did he know? She started to cry harder. He suspected. We never... He paid for the condo, Laura. He paid for the hotels. He's been paying for you. For years. He knew. She was on her knees now. Literally, on her knees. Daniel, I will do anything. I'll end it, today. I will never see him again. We can go to counseling. We can... The girls? Think about the girls? I am thinking about the girls, I said. And for the first time, my voice cracked, and I hated it. I raised them for 8 years believing they were mine. I read them Goodnight Moon every night. I taught Hannah to ride a bike. I sat up with Madison when she had the flu. I loved them, Laura. I love them. And you use them as a fucking prop. I love you. No, you don't. You love what I built for you. Which is why I've spent the last month making sure you won't get any of it. She looked up. My partners bought into the Raleigh expansion 3 weeks ago. $812,000 of our joint liquid assets are now non-marital business equity, legal under the prenup you signed. The house is mortgaged. The 401k is what the 401k is. Hollister's lawsuit is going to cost him somewhere between $1 and $2 million. His firm is going to terminate him for cause this afternoon. And you, Laura, you are going to walk out of this marriage with what you came in with, which was a 2014 Honda Civic and student loans. Daniel, pack a bag. Take the girls to your sister's. You have until sundown. You can't just... I can. And I have. The divorce took 9 months. Hollister's firm terminated him within 72 hours of service. His wife of 34 years, a woman named Patricia I'd met once at a charity gala, filed for divorce the following week. The alienation of affection suit settled out of court for $1.9 million. His reputation in Charlotte never recovered. Laura tried everything. She tried counseling. She tried the girls. She tried a reconciliation letter that ran 11 pages. She tried a restraining order based on emotional abuse, which was dismissed in under a week after Doug produced Gerald's photos and the DNA results. Her own lawyer eventually resigned the case. She ended up with the Honda, a modest lump sum settlement, and child support from Hollister once paternity was established in family court. I have not seen Hannah and Madison in 11 months. Doug tells me I have a legal right to pursue visitation. North Carolina courts recognize psychological parent status in some cases. But every time I think about seeing them, I think about Hollister's face, and I freeze. Maybe someday. Not yet. The firm expanded into Raleigh. We hired 9 people last quarter. I sold the house in Myers Park. I couldn't sleep there anymore. People ask me if I regret the way I did it, if I should have confronted her sooner, given her a chance. I tell them this. She had 11 years of chances. Every morning she woke up next to me and chose the lie. The only person I owed a chance to was myself. I don't know if what I did was justice, but I know I can look at myself in the mirror. What would you have done? Let me know in the comments.